All right, so here they want us to evaluate using the calculator's factorial key. Now, the first ones, like I said, we could easily do these because, it's easy to type into our calculator. All of them are. But what happens is when we start getting into these bigger numbers, what's going to happen is it's going to spit out and say an error. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something like this one two different ways. We're going to say, okay, well, really, what is 9 factorial? Well, 9 factorial again is 9 times 8 times 7 times 6. Now, if we think about this, down here is 6 factorial. Let's write that now as 6 factorial. And then we have 6 factorial on the bottom. So what we've done is we've switched 9 factorial into 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 factorial, because really 6 factorial is just going to be 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. But that's going to be the same thing down here is 6 times 5 times. So what's going to happen is that will cancel that. And so then we just have to really multiply 9 times 8 times 7 to get what the solution to that number is. And same thing here. We could break that down and do that, but we're not going to do that. We're going to actually do all those two with that factorial keys. But this one, what is that? Well, that's going to be 100 times 99 factorial divided by 99 factorial. That's 100. So I don't even have to use a calculator to do number C or letter C. I can just do it by reducing it and have it answer. Now, what would this one be? Well, that would be 16 times 15 times 14 times 13 times 12 times 11 factorial divided by 11 factorial. Well, those 11 factorials cancel, and it's really just going to be product of those numbers, and that would be our answer. But since we can type those into our calculator, let's go do that. So let's go back over to our calculator screen. Let's clear all that out. So the first one they wanted us to do was 9 factorial divided by 6 factorial, and that gives us 504. Okay, so we'll remember that. Now the next one they wanted us to do was 16 factorial divided by 11 factorial, and that was 524,160. Now, let's try something here. Let's do 100 factorial and just show you that there's going to be a problem. Error, overflow. That's just too big a number. It won't do it. And so that's why we have to do the other one by hand. We have to take and reduce that to 100 times 99 factorial. The 99 factorials cancel and we get 100, because once you put in some big numbers, it's an overflow and it won't work. So let's go back and write our solutions down over here. So that first one we found was, I think it was 504, and this was 524,160. Okay. And again, we could have taken those numbers and multiplied them together and got the same thing. But because we can use that in our calculator still, and we can type that into our calculator, we did that and we got our values here. All right. So the next thing we can do is something called permutations. Now, the notation NPR, with the little n's and the little r's, NPR means the number of permutations of n things taken r at a time. Now, so it's the number of possible permutations if we take like 5 items out of 25 items. So that would give us how we can do this. And so NPR would be what we would be able to use. We'd have to figure out what N and R are, and we can plug them into this. Guess what? We know how to take factorial, so we could do that. And so we can do two things. We can use the notation here on the left if we have a TI-84 calculator, or we can do the notation here on the right using the factorial keys also on our calculator. And so what we're going to do is we're going to show that 4p3 is equal to 24, as well as 4 factorial divided by 4 minus 3 factorial is 24. So let's go to our calculator and do that. All right, so first things first, let's do the factorial because we know how to do that already. So 4 factorial divided by 4 minus 3 factorial gives us 24. So that's using our equation n factorial divided by n minus r factorial. So that's finding number permutations of three things taken out of four. Now we can also use strictly the function here. It says NPR, so we're going to use number 2. Now, if you've got the TI-84, you can do this. If you've got a TI-83, you have to do something a little bit different. But here we're going to type in a 4. Oops. Here we're going to type in a 3, and we get 24. Now, if you've got an older model, let's see if I think I can change it to something that maybe we'll have to do different. It might be anyway. Let's try it. So probability to, yep, we're gonna have to do that. All right, so in this one, if we want to do 4p3, we have to type in 4 first, then we have to go over to probability, and we want a permutation, so number 2, and then we type in a 3 here. So we have to type our first number, then the NPR, and then our second number, and if we hit enter, we get 24. As you can see, it's not as good a clear screen here, and that's why I don't use this one as much. And also, you have to do things in a different order. But to do this one, you'd have to type the number first, then the NPR choice, and then 3, and then we get 24. But what we can do, like I said, I'm using the one here. This is like more like my calculator, so this is more what it looks like. And so that's going to be one way to do it. But you can also do it using just the factorial keys, and it works in the old calculator just as well. All right, so let's stop there and we'll come back for more.